Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving headfirst into a massive, provocative debate over whether autonomous drones will actually replace human fighter pilots, unpacking the real strategic and economic realities of modern aerial warfare. If you follow defense tech at all, you know this is absolutely the defining military question of our era. So we're going to look past the hype and use the actual data to see exactly where air combat is heading.
Okay, let's look at the mission briefing for today. We're going to systematically break down this whole complex topic. We'll start with the myth that pilots are obsolete, look at the brutal economics of drone swarms, why AI actually fails in combat, the rise of manned-unmanned teaming, some crazy next-gen platforms, and finally, why that human element is absolutely indispensable. Part 1. Are fighter pilots becoming obsolete? Let's test the myth. To really frame this debate, we gotta start with a wildly popular hot take from Elon Musk. He said, crewed fighter jets are an inefficient way to extend the range of missiles or drop bombs. A reusable drone can do so without all the overhead of a human pilot. The idea here is that massive, cheap drone swarms are basically gonna make a multi-million-dollar jet, like the F-35, completely obsolete. And hey, on the surface, if you're just looking at getting a payload from point A to point B, it sounds incredibly convincing, right? But here's the reality check. To understand why that claim is actually fundamentally flawed, we've got to look past the flashy, disruptive tech and analyze the actual tactical realities. Defense strategists point out that, yeah, drones add a massive layer of complexity to modern warfare, for sure. But they are absolutely not a one-to-one replacement for human-controlled stand-in forces. I mean, just delivering a bomb to a static GPS coordinate, that is literally only a tiny fraction of what a fighter pilot actually does up there.
Moving to Part 2, the economics of drone swarms and cost asymmetry.
Now, what's really interesting here is exactly why drones are so disruptive purely from an economic standpoint. Think about the math for a second. You've got a mass-produced threat drone, like a Shahed, and it costs roughly $30,000. Then, you've got an advanced interceptor missile, like an AM-120, and that costs a staggering $1.2 million per shot. When you're firing a $1 million missile to blow up a cheap drone, you don't need a math degree to see you're fighting a losing battle.
And it brilliantly illustrates the crises facing modern militaries. Firing off incredibly sophisticated, super expensive kinetic interceptors against endless swarms of expendable drones, that creates an absolutely unsustainable financial drain. You simply cannot build $1 million missiles as fast as your adversary can pump out $30,000 drones. It's just not going to happen.
So this brings us to a crucial concept strategists call the crossover point. Recent defense economic models have actually pinpointed this exact number, and it hits at exactly 109 engagements. That means beyond 109 drone intercepts, a military's defense budget just starts hemorrhaging money if they're only relying on missiles. To survive economically, they literally have to pivot to cheap, non-kinetic countermeasures, like electronic warfare and jamming, which cost maybe a few $100 an engagement. The math totally mandates a shift in strategy.
Part 3. Why AI fails in combat and the fragility of autonomy.
Just when you might be thinking, okay, drones win, game over, we have to introduce the fog of war. Compare the cognitive flexibility of a human pilot to the reality of current AI. A human thrives on creative problem solving when everything hits the fan. Meanwhile, recent research, including a really fascinating study from Apple, proves that our current AI is actually a lot closer to a super sophisticated autocomplete than it is to true logical reasoning. If even a minor, inconsequential detail changes in its environment, the AI's performance drops right off a cliff. It is incredibly fragile when faced with a novel problem.
And let's be real, the modern battle space is nothing but novel, unexpected problems. GPS jamming is literally the norm in combat zones now. We see it every single day in places like Ukraine. If a drone's network is jammed or broken, it is cut off, period. And since AI cannot make out-of-the-box tactical decisions on its own, suddenly that drone is a massive liability. Plus, Department of Defense regulations strictly restrict outsourcing the kill decision to machines. You just can't trust an autonomous system to operate totally untethered in a chaotic, jammed environment.
Which leads us perfectly into Part 4, Manned-Unmanned Teaming, or MUMT, the synthesis. This is the actual reality of future air warfare. It's not human versus machine, it's human and machine. Manned-unmanned teaming is the synchronized collaborative operation of both manned and unmanned systems. It's all about enhancing situational awareness, lethality, and survivability. So instead of a pilot sitting in a bunker with a joystick or an AI just flying rogue, the human pilot is right there in the air, acting as the battle commander. It's a revolutionary hybrid architecture.
A huge piece of this puzzle is the Collaborative Combat Aircraft, or CCA. Basically, these are AI-enabled loyal wingmen. They are drones specifically designed to physically fly alongside and protect next-generation manned fighters. Think of them as ultimate force multipliers. They can fly miles ahead to act as sensors, they can carry extra missiles or run electronic warfare. They extend the reach of the human pilot without putting more human lives on the line. And hey, if one gets shot down, it's an acceptable, attributable loss.
All right, part 5, next-generation air dominance platforms. Let's look at the new fleet.
To pull this hybrid doctrine off, militaries are developing some insane new platforms. On the crewed side, the U.S. Air Force's upcoming 6th-generation fighter, the Boeing F-47, expected to be called the Phoenix, is a beast. Designed to replace the F-22, we're talking speeds over Mach 2 and a massive combat radius of over 1,000 nautical miles. But here's the real kicker. It's designed specifically as a central command node. The pilot in the F-47 won't just be flying their own jet. They're going to be directing an entire surrounding fleet of those loyal wingmen drones right from the cockpit.
And then over on the uncrewed side, you've got these highly advanced platforms coming online, like the Bayraktar Kizilelma. This is an unmanned fighter aircraft that can hit Mach 0.9, carry a 1.5-ton payload, and comes packed with advanced AESA radar for crazy situational awareness. Oh, and it's stealthy, too. Platforms like this provide the heavy payload and sensing capabilities you absolutely need to strike in highly contested airspace, all while the crewed fighter manages the whole operation from a safer distance.
And finally, part 6, the indispensable human element. Who really pulls the trigger? As we look at all these rapidly advancing tech specs, we really have to ground ourselves in the ultimate purpose of an air combat mission. Modern warfare has totally shifted from a linear kill chain to this highly complex kill web, and sitting right at the center of that web, human pilots. They remain the vital, untethered decision makers. Because as we discussed, AI cannot be trusted with ethical kill decisions, and our remote drones can easily have their comms jammed. Having that localized human cognitive flexibility directly in the battle space isn't just nice to have, it's an absolute operational necessity. So I want you to ask yourself this critical question. In a GPS-denied, heavily jammed battle space, where unexpected variables are popping up by the second and the fog of war is at its thickest, who do you want making the final, irreversible decision to pull the trigger? A fragile pattern-matching algorithm, or a highly trained human mind capable of ethical, creative, out-of-the-box reasoning? Ultimately, what this explainer really highlights is that while drones are 100% reshaping the economics and the tactics of war, the human pilot is nowhere near obsolete. The true future of air combat is about elevating human judgment with machine precision. The fighter pilot of tomorrow isn't just dogfighting. They're the quarterback of a highly lethal, airborne robotic team. But it leaves us with one massive question to consider. In a jammed battle space where the fog of war is at its absolute thickest, who do you want making that final call?